In this Ableton Live tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make modern deep house in the style of Tchami and other modern deep house artists. My name's Will from EDM Tips, and each week I show you how to produce music in the style and genre of your favourite artists. As usual, you can download the project file and all of the samples and presets completely free below this video, so don't forget to do that. I'm going to show you how to sample an existing record to come up with a really cool idea. So this is actually from a Coldplay record. We'll be going into the kick and bass. We'll be doing some sound design from scratch. So this is to augment the samples that we made earlier. But before we kick off, I just want to say shout out to one of my students, Zoya, who just got picked by Anjuna Records as their tune of the week. What a way to kick off 2021. Nice work, Zoya. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram for tips like this each and every day at EDM Tips Official. And without further ado, let's hop into the door and get it done. Okay, a one-take video. This is modern deep house in the style of Tchami. So the first thing we want to do is work out the vibe. Now, there's usually a melodic part, a really nice sounding part, and then it goes into just the bass line stripped down. So the difficulty with producers who produce lots of different styles is that, yeah, it changes from track to track, but the overarching vibe is that. So first thing is select the tempo. We've chosen 126, good tempo for this genre, and I want to show you something really cool after we've got the kick, but the kick is the first thing. So let's just create an audio track for the kick and then just chuck them in. I'll just go to my favorites. Super important to have favorites because then you can work much quicker. That sounds nice and chunky, and I got that dead mouse vibe as well. So let's just copy that. Boom, boom, boom. And we're going to turn down the kick to -6 so we don't get distortion and clipping on the master channel. Okay, now this is what I wanted to show you. This is something that's kind of like from the Rainforest track by Tchami, but I want to show you this really cool trick. We're going to use a sample, and that's going to give us the basis of our track. So I'm just going to go to my music app and just drag in a sound that I really like. See, it's a random tune, so we've got Hurts Like Heaven by Coldplay. So I'm going to drag that in, and we're going to use the chords from this, and that's what's going to give us the basis of our track. What you can do is you can look up the tempo of the track online if you want, which is the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to do that really quickly. Hurts Like Heaven tempo. 89 beats per minute. So we can just put 89 there, and now it's going to be in the same tempo as our track. Cool, so now what we're going to do is select a little piece that we like from this, and we're going to just copy and drag it onto a new track. Now don't worry, this will all become apparent what's happening very soon. So we want to use one note from each chord. And there are 3 chords in this tune, in this progression. So that's the first one we're going to steal. And then we'll go till it changes the chord again. That one, we'll have that. That's the second note. And just fade it out a little bit. And then the third note. Actually, that's the third chord. That's the second chord. So we'll take that. And that's going to be our second chord. And then we've already got the third one. Now this is what we're going to do. We're going to create a really cool kind of syncopated rhythm to that that's going to work perfectly with the kick. So we're just going to grab the first note. And we're going to just copy and paste it. And then we'll go to the second note for the second part of the chord progression. And let's just, again, copy a similar pattern. Whoops, syncopated pattern. This is going to be sweet when this is all done, trust me. Ready? It's a bit painstaking, but it's worth it. Hopefully you can hear the kind of vibe we're going for. And this is going to inform us what chords we're going to do for the rest of the track. Whoops, messed up a bit there. Oopsie daisy. Oh, we need to name this track, don't we? Right, we best name this bad boy. Tchami, let's call it Salami. Why? Because it rhymes a bit. It doesn't get better in 2021. Okay. So let's carry on that same pattern. And this last chord is going to play twice as long. Dun, dun. So that is our progression. Now I'm just going to consolidate that. So that is what we're going to base our chord progression on. Let's work out what those chords are. So I'm just going to open up a grand piano sound in Ableton, but you can do this in any DAW. And let's just work out the bass notes first, because then we'll know what key it's in more easily. Okay, I didn't use a grand piano, never mind, doesn't matter. Okay, so those notes are B flat, C, and then E flat. So that is actually going to be in the key of B flat major, but that's a bit tricky. So if we look in the piano roll, we can see that the key of B flat major obviously starts on a B flat. So to make it easier, we could actually just put everything up 2 semitones until we're on C major, because then we're just working with the white notes, so we're not going to get confused. It's just so much easier to work in C major if you're writing a track in major. So let's double click on that. Let's choose complex as the warp, and we're just going to put it up 2 semitones to C. And now our track is in C major. And again, that even hides the original tune even more, so no one will know what the original sample's from. So that is what we are going to use as our basis. Now we've got that, let's put in the bass line in a Tchami kind of style. So I'm actually going to use a premium synth. I'm going to use Serum today because so many of you guys ask me what plugins do I usually use. I don't just use stock plugins from Ableton. This is one of the plugins I do use when I'm actually writing, full tracks for release. So I'm going to find a bass sound that I like. I do have one in here somewhere actually. I think it's from Splice. It's this solid FM housey bass, kind of like Duke Dumont style, like that. So all we need to do now is work out the bass notes that follow this track, and we're going to use exactly the same rhythm as well, just to kind of reinstate it in our minds as the solid groove. So that same syncopated rhythm, like this. And we can just copy and paste that, like drag it, it's quicker. And I think the last note is an F. Yep, that's it, but let's make it a bit more interesting. And then a little kind of intricacy bit at the end. But it's really easy because we're just using the white note. So if we press fold, we can see you could actually draw in my template technique and then press fold, and then it makes it even easier. So this is our kick and our bass line. Right, so on the main drop, we're not going to be having this sample playing. It's just going to be stripped back to that kick and bass, like so. By the way, guys, if you are enjoying this, let me know in the comments below. Give me a hell yeah, and do let me know what you want me to cover in a different style as well, because I always read the comments and I really appreciate it. Okay, let's give this some sidechain compression. So you could use the LFO tool, but I'm going to use a normal sidechain compression technique. Take the sidechain input from my sidechain channel, which is here. which is just playing a little tick that you can't hear because I've set the routing to sends only. And let's go up for that note to 1 octave. Cool, so that's our bass line. Now we might actually spread this out a bit in stereo field to make it fatter. So we could duplicate it and just have the sub bass mono. So let's do that, and that's to make sure we don't run into phase issues. I'm just going to take out the high end of this with a filter, like this. In fact, we'll take the sidechain compression off because now we've got two bass lines. We're going to group them together and just apply the sidechain compressor to the bass group. If this is a bit hardcore for you, don't worry. Like, just if you take my mixing course or join the masterclass, I go into it in a lot more depth. I'm just trying to work quickly so I can show you how I would do this. So let's take off the high end of that sub bass. And that clicking can be avoided if you use the LFO tool or Nicky Romero's Kickstart. But I wanted to use as many Ableton Live plugins as I could for you today. And now we're going to spread this one out, this top bass, by using the Ozone Imager, which is a free plugin from iZotope. So if you don't have it yet, go and get it. So you can hear it's much wider now, but we want to keep the sub bass mono. So I'm just going to EQ out everything under about 100. And then the sub bass will bring it in. So now we've got a lovely fat wide bass that's also stereo in the mid range and then mono in the low end. Okay, next thing to do, beats. What's on my magic thing? Yeah, baby, beats. Oh yeah, you can download this file as well, the project file and all the samples and presets. Next thing we're going to do is add some beats. So first thing we're going to do is find a nice little clap. Nice and snappy, baby. Give me that snappy clap. That's kind of cool. We'll find a couple of claps and layer them up as well. Because you can hear that's a bit... I want that realistic clap sound though, like a couple of people clapping at the same time. So first we'll put that in. And then we'll get something snappier to layer over the top of it. That's another cool one actually, because that's nice and wide. So we're going to layer that up. Give it some stereo width. And then something snappy to give it that real transient. That's cool. We want it really short and tight. Yep, that sounds good to me. So let's just copy and paste that. So we've got 3 claps layered up now. And now we're going to use some real sounding hats because that's something Tchami does. So I'm going to, and I love to do this as well. I love real sampled hi-hats in dance music. I think it sounds really cool. So first, obviously, we're going to just put in one on every other beat. A really short closed hat, I think. Like so. Like super simple. Look at this beat. It's really simple. It's all about the sounds you select and then how you process them afterwards and how all the interlocking sounds work together. And And what I'm doing here is I'm feeding in a bit of room reverb, which I've got on my auxiliary channels. Whoops. Come on, drums, where are you? And a bit on the hat as well. And it just makes it all sound like it's coming from one place. So this is off, and this is on. Now for the bass, I want to give it some reverb as well to give it more presence. So I've created another auxiliary channel that's kind of like the room reverb, but just I'm just going to apply it to the bass. And what we're going to do is apply the sidechain. Let's call that pump compressor, so we know it's a compressor that's making everything sidechain pump. Let's put it here as well. So now we're starting to get that kind of compressed sound. Cool, okay. My computer stopped working. Uh-oh. Okay, back in business, baby. So this is where we have so far. And I'm going to add some more hats now as well, make those beats more interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'll find a secondary closed hat. This one's pretty cool. And this is going to be much quieter, and it's going to play a little 16th rhythm. But I'm going to switch up the velocity a bit just to make some of them quieter than the others. Just to give it some more depth, more interest. And let's find an open hat. And what we're going to use is just a real sounding one. Actually, no, we'll use an 808 hat. And we're just going to have that open just for a split second. So we're going to put the release down, keep the sustain on, and then we're going to do this. And we'll do that every 4 bars. Like so. Let's make the first one a bit quieter. The first beat. And then to keep interest going in the drums, we're going to add a secondary open hat, or maybe a closed hat, just to add more texture. Like this. Again, a real sounding one, so sampled from a real drum kit. And we're just going to put this on every other beat, every other open hat beat. So not every one, just every other. So let's pan this one way just to add more stereo width. Cool, so once we've copied and pasted that, let's move on to the next stage. Now the next stage is my writing a melody that's going to work with this for the drop. So again, we could use the wavetable, or I could use Serum again, because I know not all of you guys have wavetable. So let's just use Serum, and I'm just going to have a hunt for a pretty cool sound and then write a simple melody that's going to, again, reiterate that rhythm and groove. So what should we use? Let's just have a scroll down. Leads. What leads have we got? Maybe a mallet. That might sound pretty cool. Gonna have to switch that and then switch it back on. And again, because we're working in C major, it's super simple, guys. You could just use the white keys. And remember, we can always change the sound after we've written the melody. So let's just have a jam. so that is what we're going to do. And again, we're going to play on that same syncopated rhythm just to keep the flow going in the tune. So you hear it's following the bass line. And that's something Tchami does just to reiterate that groove, make it really solid. Again, you can see I'm just using the white notes. Do, 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 do. Cool. Let's just copy and paste that. And then at the end, we're going to have a flourish as we do in the bass line. Here we go. Here's our riff. So let's make that more interesting. Let's have a little hunt. I like that because it's got a bit more bite. So next thing we're going to do is just add a little bit of processing to that. We've got reverb on the auxiliary channel, so let's add some of that. And I'm going to add a sidechain compressor to that reverb as well, but I'm going to actually fire it from the dry signal. I can't believe I'm giving away so many secrets in this. And that's allowing the kind of dry signal to poke through the reverb. Okay, we're getting a bit of clipping on the master channel, so what I'm going to do, I'll take down all of these sounds, just drag them down a bit. We don't want clipping. Cool. Okay, next thing we're going to do is, we're getting close now. Again, let me know if you like it. Drop a comment, give me a hell yeah on Amen Brother, because I love that shiz. And now we're going to find some vocals. So the beauty of doing it in C major rather than B flat major, which is a bit more of an unusual key, is that if we use something like Splice, we can actually find a vocal more easily. So let's go to Splice. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to find the vocal by using the sample we got from the Coldplay tune. All right, actually, first let's do some processing on that. I'm going to use this ozone imager again. I'm going to really spread this out wide. And I'm going to augment it as well in a little bit as well with a synth. So don't worry, I'll show you how to do that. Still loads more to go through, guys. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Let me know below. And for the time being, I'm going to put a pump comp on here so we can play it with the kick. Yes, mate. Banger. Bonafide banger. Now let's find a vocal. And we're going to do this in Splice. Just search for vocal. C major. I want a male vocal because that track by Tchami, Rainforest, has a male vocal which I like. So let's just have a search on Splice for that. You could use Luke Cloud as well. Okay. All right. Holy. What? I don't believe it. I'm thinking that we don't believe in love anymore. It's a bit of a depressing vocal, but it's a nice sound to it. I hate this feeling 'cause I won't be breathing you. All right, mate. Easy. Keep it light. All Right, what's this? Suicide vocal pack. Come on, mate. I like your voice, but keep it light. I'm gonna give him another chance because I like his voice. Cheer up, Prescott, and we might be in business. C major. Here we go.
I hate this feeling. I don't believe.
All right. Okay. See, we're looking for something that. Oh man. Get over it already, mate. I really like the sound of his vocal.
Taking it out of my body. I hate this feeling, cause I won't be breathing you in my lungs anymore.
I'm not sure I can actually. It's so depressing. It's literally at that stage where I'm gonna have to choose someone else. Sorry, Prescott. You've blown it, mate. And I don't need a monk. No.
Bottle of wine right here.
Let's put Pop. Let's see if we got something cool from Pop.
It's not right. You're trading numbers.
Oh, not Prescott again.
I don't believe.
Alright, okay.
It's not right.
Alright, I'm gonna go with John. I don't know why I thought he was called John Prescott. I think he was. That's a politician. But we're gonna use him anyway.
I hate this feeling
too, John. I mean Prescott. But we're gonna drag you in because you got a good voice, mate. In fact, your good voice should be reason enough for you to cheer up. Alright? Word of advice. Okay, but this vocal, we are going to make sure it's the right tempo, and you can see here when you drag something in from Splice, it says the tempo, which is 120. So we just need to make sure it's set to 120. Set it to Complex Pro because that's the best warp for vocals, 98% of the time. And now let's get it working with this track. So we're going to just duplicate everything because we're going to do a bit of arrangement now as well. So the first part is just going to be the Coldplay sample. We'll have the drums start to come in there. And then we are going to use the, we'll leave the kick for the drop, unsurprisingly.
I hate this feeling cause I won't be breathing you in my lungs anymore.
Okay, now, much as I love John's healthy, happy outlook on life, we're actually going to find another one of his vocals because that's too short. So we want a whole phrase.
I hate this feeling cause I won't be breathing you in my lungs anymore. I don't believe what you said.
Okay, we're just going to have hook dry, full.
I'm always checking my phone and you're happy being alone and I don't believe that you're
That's nice.
leaving me. We don't believe in love anymore.
I'm going to use that as a harmony underneath because it just sounds so nice. Whoops. I dragged that onto a MIDI track by mistake. I need to drag it onto an audio track.
I don't believe that you're leaving me. We don't. I don't believe that you're leaving me.
We'll drag it in. Complex Pro, 120. So now we've got the harmony underneath.
I hate this feeling cause I won't be breathing you in my lungs anymore.
Okay, it's actually a harmony to a different part. So it doesn't matter. We will just go to the full.
I'm always checking my phone. I don't believe that you're leaving me. We don't believe in
So now
we'll
we'll use the full thing, harmonies and everything, for the second part of that. 120, lovely and fast, Complex Pro. So now this is our vocal.
Lost anymore. I don't believe that you believe in me. We don't believe in love anymore.
So they are our vocals, but what we're going to do is we'll leave them to come in. And this first part, because I'm going to show you how to create an interesting augmented synth riff that's going to go over those stabs. So we'll take off the sidechain compression. We'll add some room reverb. So now we know what key this is in. Let's just create a, like a synth. I'll do a really simple one and I'll do it snith. Yeah, we'll call it a snith, why not? And I'm going to use an operator for this. And I'm just going to choose a square wave because I want that particular sound. Turn it down. And we're going to create a little arpeggio that follows the rhythm of that sample. So it sounds kind of, computer gamey. And then we're just going to repeat that. And then we'll switch it up. Again, I'm just using the white notes because we know we're in C major natural. You could even add more notes as well. Like so. So it's just constant arpeggio, which, yeah, you could do totally. Like so. Which kind of gives it a cool Alex Metric type vibe. I like this. Whoops. Okay, and then copy and paste. And we're going to give this some cool stereo width using the Haas effect, because that's what the snith needs. So again, we go into there, we stick a delay on there, 100% wet, no feedback, unsync it, untie it, and then choose slightly different selections on the millisecond delay, and that makes it sound like there's a lovely stereo width to a mono signal. So this is with the, and choose ping pong, so it's panned left and right. So this is without the Haas effect, and this is with it. Lovely and wide. Check in mono. A bit of weird phasing. But it's okay because it's such a high up sound and it's not an important part of the track. It's just to add extra interest. And I check it in mono because I've got a mono switch on my master channel. So let's listen to it all together. And then we bring the vocals in here. And I do more processing on this as well, I think.
I hate this feeling cause I won't be breathing you in my lungs anymore. I don't believe that you...
And we want lots of nice room reverb on that. So for the vocals, sorry, hall reverb, I'm just going to tie them together in a group and color them purpley pink and apply that. And then let's check it out. Let's add some hall reverb.
I hate this feeling cause I won't be breathing you in my lungs anymore. I don't believe that you believe in me. We don't believe in
And then that's where it switches to the stripped back drop. So to do that, we're going to throw in a drum intro. Now you could search again for one on Splice, something like that. I'm going to use just one that I made years ago or sample from a track. Where is it? That would be in drum loops. That would be in drum rolls and intros. I sampled it from a track called Waterfall. And it's got a nice feel to it. And I want to make this really wide as well. So I'm going to throw on another one of these ozone images, like so, pump it nice and wide. Like this, like so. So it strips right back to that, but I want a bit more vibe in that riff. So I'm going to add some distortion, and let's do some mixing. Extra crunch. So I'm just using the drum bus to add some extra weight and crunch to those drums. So what we're going to do is add some distortion to this. We'll add some overdrive to the riff. We're going to attenuate the volume before the distortion because it's getting a bit, it's clipping. We don't want it clipping. And now let's do some EQ on that. Cool, so that's pretty much it, guys. That is my Tchami style, modern deep house kind of track. So let's listen to it all the way through, and I'm going to do a bit of mixing as we go. In fact, this needs a bit of compression on it. So I'm going to use a glue compressor. Just to make everything a similar volume. Kick and bass together. So with this Tchami style, a lot of it, as I said, is also down to the processing. So when you've got the kick and the bass and all of the sounds as you want, that's when you start applying the compression and the saturation, as you've just seen me do by using that drum bus in Ableton. I want this to be a slightly longer drum intro, so I'm just going to chop it up a bit. Like this. Dun, da, 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 da. That's done. Like that. That's the kind of sound I want. And I'll take this down a tiny bit. And on that, note, on that bombshell, we are about to finish, but I'm just going to add a pump compressor. That should be after that. I'm going to add a pump compressor on that main synth riff as well, just to allow the kick and the bass to really punch through.
Believe in me, we don't believe in love anymore.
Even just that clap on its own probably sounds better. And then you could always bring in that later on to add the next part of the tune, like so. And then we're bringing that sample again. We might make it a bit quieter. You could even add this in as well. Again, let's put that pump compressor on there. Almost done, guys. I just get carried away. You know how it is. Woo! There we have it, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this. As usual, download this project file, all the samples below. You can't do me, Chris Martin from Coldplay, because I've mashed up your sample, I've changed the pitch, and I've chopped it up. I'm not asking you to try and get me done for copyright. In fact, I'm saying thank you for that lovely music, Chris. I really appreciate it. Until next time, cheers and happy producing.
Believe in me.